Hi, I'm Savannah. This is gonna be a little weird because don't have anyone to help me with this project, so I've got names on papers. So when I'm speaking, I hold up their name. That's who's speaking. Okay, so I chose the last scene in Romeo and Juliet. So it starts with Romeo kills kills Paris, who loves Juliet, whatever, and they're at the tomb where Juliet's supposedly dead, and so that's to set the scene, kind of, sort of. So Romeo starts with, "In faith, I will let me pursue this face. Mercutio's kinsman, noble country, Paris. What said my man when my toast soul? Oh grave, oh no, a lantern, slaughtered youth, for here lies Juliet, and her beauty makes this vault a feasting presence full of light. Death, lie thou there, by a dead man entered. How oft, when men are at the point of death, have there been mercy, which their keepers call a lightning before death? Oh, how may I call this a lightning? Oh, my love, my wife, death that hath sucked the honey of thy breath, hath had no power yet upon thy beauty." Romeo kind of, I made up some of this stuff in the scene. I said that he could kind of embrace Juliet's body, and he's crying over her, and he like kisses her and is just crying over here. "And never from this palace of dim night depart again. Here will I remain, with worms that are thy chambermaids. Oh, here will I step up my everlasting rest, and shake the yoke of inauspicious stars from this world-wearied flesh. Eyes, look your last, arms, take your last embrace, and lips, oh, you the doors of breath, seal with a righteous kiss, a dateless bargain to engrossing death." So then he kisses her, and he's sad and crying. "Come, bitter conduct, come, unsavory guide, thou desperate pilot, now at once run on the dashing rocks, thy seasick, weary bark. Here's to my love, drinking, oh, true apothecary, thy drugs are quick. Thus, with a kiss, I die." And then he tips the poison back, which is real poison, and he dies instantly. And then Friar Lawrence enters, and he kind of goes into the tomb, and he sees Romeo dead because when he sees Romeo, he kind of freaks out because he wants to get Juliet out of there so she doesn't see him. But this is Friar right now. "Romeo, alack, alack, what blood is this which stains the stony entrance of this sepulchre? What mean these masterless and gory swords, to lie discolored by this place of peace? To lie Romeo, oh pale, who else? What, Paris too, and steeped in blood? Ah, what an unkind hour, and guilty of this lamentable chance." The lady stirs, and then Juliet she wakes up, and she's in nice clothes. I made this part up too. She's in nicer clothes because she was running away. She's in nicer clothes because her family dressed her up because she died. Her family thinks she's actually dead, so they dressed her up for the funeral. That's what I made that up. So this is her talking. When she comes awakened, she's kind of confused and groggy or whatever. "Oh, comfortable friar, where is my lord? I do remember well where I should be, and there I am. Where is my Romeo?" She begins to like kind of get up and look around, and Friar Lawrence is trying to get her out of the tomb so that she does not see Romeo. And then he says, "I hear some noise, lady, come from that nest of death, contagion, and unnatural sleep. A greater power than we can contradict hath thwarted our intents. Come away. Thy husband is thy bosom there, lies dead, and Paris too. Come, I'll dispose of thee among a sisterhood of holy nuns. Stay not to question, for the watch is coming. Come, go, good Juliet, I dare no longer stay. Then Juliet, go get the hence, for I will not away. Then she finds Romeo, and he's dead. Poison I see hath been his timeless end. O churl, drunk all, and left no friendly drop to help me after. I will kiss thy lips. Haply some poison yet doth hang on them, to make me die with restorative. She kisses him. Thy lips are warm. And then the first watch and kind of like policemen walk in. It's first watch says, lead boy, which way? And then Juliet hears them and says, yeah, noise, then I'll be brief. Oh, happy dagger, this is thy sheath, there rest, and let me die. So then she takes the Romeo's knife and stabs herself, and then she bleeds out and dies. And then the first watch is, they found the tomb of the dead bodies and are shocked. Pitiful sight, here lies the county slain, and Juliet bleeding, warm and newly dead. Who here hath lain this 2 days buried? Go tell the prince, run to the Capulets, raise up the Montagues, some others search. And they exit. We see the ground and whereon the was to lie. So they go get the families because they thought Juliet was dead, so they're kind of confused. So then comes in Capulet. Capulet comes in and said he's confused and a little annoyed because he thought Juliet was dead, so it doesn't really make any sense. What should it be that is so shrieked abroad? Lady Capulet is kind of confused herself. Oh, the people in the street cry Romeo, some Juliet, and some Paris, and all run with open outcry toward our monument, meaning the tomb. And then the first watch guy says, oh no, the prince says, what fear is this which startles in our ears? And then the first watch says, sovereign, here lies the county Paris slain, and Romeo dead, and Juliet dead before, warm and newly killed. The prince says, search, seek, and know how this foul murder comes. First watch, here is a fire, slaughtered Romeo's man, which with instruments upon them to fit open these dead men's tombs. And Capulet, O heaven, O wife, look how our daughter bleeds. This dagger hath mistaken, for lo, his house is empty on the back of Montague, and is missheathed in my daughter's bosom. And then Lady Capulet, O me, this sight of death is as a bell that warms my old age to a sepulchre. And then the Montague family, blah, 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 blah. And then the prince says, come, Montague, for thou art early up to see thy son, and ere now early down. And then Montague enters. Alas, my liege, my wife is dead tonight. Grief of my son's exile hath stopped her breath. What further conspires against mine age? So he's kind of confused. And then the prince says, look, and thou shalt see. Montague, O thou untaught, what manners is in this, to press before thy father to grave. And then Friar Lawrence gives a huge speech at the end to kind of explain why they all died. I will be brief, for my short date of breath is not so long as is a tedious tale. Romeo their dead was husband to that Juliet, and she their dead, that Romeo's faithful wife. I married them, and their stolen marriage day was Tybalt's doomsday, whose untimely death banished and new made bridegroom from this city. For whom and not for Tybalt Juliet pined, you to remove that siege of grief from her betrothed, and would have married her perforce to county Paris. Then comes she to me, and with wild looks bid me devise some man to rid her from the second marriage, or in my cell there would she kill herself. Then gave I her, so tortured by my art, a sleeping potion which so took effect as I intended for it to wrought on her the form of death. Meantime I writ to Romeo that he should hither come as his desire night to help to take her from her borrowed grave, being the same potion's force should cease. But he which bore my letter, Friar John, was stayed by the accident, and yesternight returned to my letter back. Then all alone, at the prefixed hour of her waking, came I take to her kindred's vault, meaning to keep her closely at my cell, then I conveniently could send to Romeo. But when I came some minute ere this time of her awakening, her here untimely lay the noble Paris and true Romeo dead. She wakes, and I entreated her come forth and bear this work of heaven with patience. But then a noise did scare me from the tomb, and she too desperate would not go with me, but as it seems did violence on herself. All this I know, unto the marriage her nurse is privy, and if I ought in this miscarried by my fault, let my old life be sacrificed some hour before his time unto the rigor of Severus law. So basically he told the Capulets and Montagues that their fighting killed their kids. So then Capulet comes in, "O brother Montague, give me thy hand, this is my daughter's jointure, for no more can I demand." And then Montague, "But I can give thee more, for I will ray her statue in pure gold, that whiles Verona by the name is known, there shall no figure as such rate be set as that of true and faithful Juliet." Capulet, "As rich shall Romeo's by his ladies lie, poor sacrifices of our amenity." So basically they apologized to each other and said they wouldn't fight anymore because their kids died, so they understand each other's grief. And then the prince is the last one to speak in the play. "A glooming peace this morning with it brings, the sun for sorrow will not show his head. Go hence to have more talk of these sad things. Some shall be pardoned and some punished, for never was a story of more woe than this of Juliet and her Romeo."